Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my god. Oh, thank you. You probably clicked on the thumbnail wondering what the f. All right, today we're doing a double review, basically. I didn't have time to do a review for Oppenheimer and Barbie each, so I'm gonna have them compete. We'll discuss the story, the characters and acting, the score, the visuals, and the editing and pacing, and whoever racks up the most points basically will be deemed the better movie, but that's just my opinion. This is Barbie versus Oppenheimer, Greta Gerwig versus Christopher Nolan. Let's see who wins. First, let's talk about the story. Now, this is already a really hard one because I forgot to mention, Oppenheimer is an extremely different film from Barbie. One is a 3-hour historical and biographical epic that explores a man dealing with the consequences of his own creation and existential dread. And the other one is an extremely fun Barbie movie, not so much for kids, that leaves you questioning life. So maybe they have slightly similar themes, but that's stretching it. Anyways, Oppenheimer's story I thought was captivating the entire time. I was not uninterested or bored for not even a second of the entire 3-hour runtime, which is crazy. The whole movie is basically people talking in a room, but it's so interesting. For Barbie, I also loved the story, and it went places I never could have expected for a movie about a Barbie doll. It was completely hilarious, full of heart, and while it wasn't captivating me the same as Oppenheimer, it did make me tear up once, and I fully cried by the end. I think for those reasons, I'm gonna give a point to each movie. Barbie and Oppenheimer will tie for the story. Now we gotta talk about characters and acting, which I'll blend as one category basically. Both movies have fantastic characters. Barbie has Margot Robbie as the stereotypical Barbie, and there's a bunch of other Barbies like the weird Barbie. Ryan Gosling completely stole the show for me. He plays one of the Kens and is such a perfect embodiment of men's childishness and ridiculousness sometimes. It's obviously exaggerated, but it was so funny. What's different about Oppenheimer is that while it may have more side characters than Barbie, I think 90 to 95% of the focus is on J. Robert Oppenheimer, the main character. All the characters get at least one scene to shine. And you could say the same thing about Barbie, but take any actor from Oppenheimer, take Robert Downey Jr., he crushed it. Take Emily Blunt, she crushed it. Cillian Murphy should be nominated at the Oscars for Best Actor. He crushed it. Take a look at the actors with a smaller role. Benny Safdie crushed it. Josh Hartnett crushed it. Florence Pugh crushed it. Rami Malek crushed it. We could go on and on with the performances. I think you get the point. Oppenheimer definitely gets the point for acting for this one. This is not to discredit Barbie, however. Ryan Gosling gave one of the best performances this year. He couldn't have been more perfect as Ken. I'm having a hard time deciding who to give the point to for the characters. I think I'm gonna give the slight edge to Oppenheimer. Again, this was tough to decide, but I mainly made this decision because the movie does such a good job of making you feel J. Robert Oppenheimer's dread, especially in like the last hour of the movie. By that haunting ending, I was just left with my face in my hands, just what the f. That was honestly super hard to decide. But now let's talk about the music or the score. I'm not sure if you guys know this about me, but I get very easily manipulated by music in a movie.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
It can make or break a scene for me or a whole movie sometimes. So with that in mind, let's first dive into Oppenheimer's score, composed by Ludwig Göransson. He's also composed movies like Black Panther, Tenet, Creed 1 and 2. None of that matters. This is his best work by a large mile. Oppenheimer's music is music. The best part about it is that even though the movie's 3 hours long, there's music playing for like 90% of it, and you would think that that gets annoying, but that's not the case. It really emphasizes the quiet moments. There's 2 scenes in particular I'm thinking of that make really great use of no music. The score is the best I've heard all year. Barbie's score though is good. For me personally, it wasn't that memorable, so I'm sorry. If anything, I walked out of Barbie thinking more about the soundtrack. There's a specific Billie Eilish song that plays and hits just right. But besides the soundtrack, I didn't think the score was anything that special, especially when you're comparing it to Oppenheimer's score. I hope that doesn't get me killed. Oppenheimer clears this category, easily taking another point for the score. Now the visuals. Holy shit, this one is tough. Before we dive into that category, drop a like on the video to show your support. And if this is your first time discovering the channel, subscribe so you can see more and you don't miss out. I would really appreciate it. But let's get back to it. Both movies Oh shit. Both movies have their own distinct style. They both have amazing sets and cinematography, so let's start with Barbie. I think the big standout for me on a technical level was the production design. Everything in the Barbie world or Barbie land was amazing. All the houses, all the cars, they looked like proper toy plastic, which doesn't sound that special now that I'm saying it out loud, but trust me, when you're watching the movie and you're seeing this, it's hard to not be amazed by all the real sets they built. What's even more impressive is that I couldn't tell where they had CGI in there, because they definitely did, but they blended the two so perfectly that I couldn't tell. I have one big issue though, and it's that as soon as they're out of Barbie land and they're into the real world, the movie becomes visually pretty boring. Greta Gerwig did a really good job of capturing that magical feeling of Barbie land, but as soon as we were taken out of it, I just wanted to go back. Almost all the scenes in the real world, besides some of the office stuff with Will Ferrell, were pretty boring. It looked like a car commercial. That's the best way I could put it, to be honest. Now, Oppenheimer flips back and forth between scenes in color and in black and white. Apparently, the scenes in color are supposed to be J. Robert Oppenheimer's subjective experience, like his eyes and mind, while all the scenes in black and white are an objective lens, like an outside lens to everything that's happening. So already they've put a really cool purpose to the choice of colors or lack thereof in the movie. Hoyte van Hoytema, I hope that's how you pronounce it, the cinematographer who shot movies like Tenet and most recently Nope, really upped his game here with Christopher Nolan. He really did. Specifically because they had to engineer 65mm black and white IMAX film for the black and white scenes in the movie, which is crazy. The whole movie looks beautiful, and yeah, most people talk about the Trinity test scene and how they made the bomb look without CGI and all that stuff, but dude, take any shot in the movie, it's beautiful. The ones that hit the hardest for me were like the close-ups of Cillian Murphy's face as he's doing that big eyes thing as he contemplates his decisions. Those were the best because it's like his whole face and acting taking up the entire IMAX screen. So look, to be honest, I would have given a point for the visuals to Barbie, but those scenes in the real world were pretty bland. While on the other hand, you have Oppenheimer, where every scene and every shot is constantly interesting and changing and colorful or not colorful. So for that reason, I gotta give the point to Oppenheimer for visuals. Okay, here we are, the final category, editing and pacing. This one might surprise you guys, so I'm gonna talk about Oppenheimer first to get it out of the way. If this doesn't get nominated at the Oscars for best editing, I will lose my mind. For 3 hours, the movie's editing is lightning fast. And it was something I had to get used to for the first 10 minutes-ish. But once I got comfortable and used to the movie's editing, I couldn't get my eyes off the screen. It moves faster than an action movie. It's very reminiscent of The Social Network, where the dialogue is super witty and super fast, and it makes the movie really entertaining. It's the same deal here with Oppenheimer, except they're cutting back and forth between 2 or 3 different stories at different times, and it's intense and it's never confusing. That's what blew my mind. They were able to tell so much story so fast and never lose me. I don't even know how they planned all that. It's crazy to think about, honestly. So because of the lightning fast editing and how much clarity the whole story had, the pacing was consistent and never dragged. I heard from a few places that they thought the movie should have ended earlier, or that they felt like the movie was leading up to an ending and wouldn't end. Like, I completely disagree with that. The pacing was perfect. Barbie's editing is nothing too special compared to Oppenheimer, but it does its job very well. It was really important for this movie to have good editing to help sell the actor's comedic timing, like especially Ryan Gosling, and it totally did that. And what's crazy is I thought the pacing for the movie was honestly so perfect until we headed to the real world for a little too long. The movie definitely slows down and you can feel that. And there's still a couple of scenes that are pretty funny in the real world, but I just kept wondering, like, when are we going back to Barbie land, you know? I think they should have just cut out a good chunk of the scenes from the real world in Barbie, because they bring the movie's pacing down and they were visually boring. That was like the worst part of the movie for me. So again, editing and pacing, both points go to Oppenheimer for this round. God, I know that seemed like a brutal loss for Barbie, but don't think that's because I didn't like it. I loved Barbie. It's probably the hardest I laughed in the theater in a long time. Maybe the fight itself was unfair, I don't know, but let me know what you think. Tell me in the comments which categories you disagreed with, or if you thought Barbie should have won this fight. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next video, and I can't wait to take this off. Oh my God.